For our Iranian diaspora, Nazanin has become a trusted and admired voice. Our community is vibrant and passionate, and when moments arise that call for unity and representation, when we need someone to speak for our shared values, Nazanin consistently rises to the occasion. Her voice is steady, principled, and grounded in human rights and international law. Her thoughtful advocacy reminds us that lasting impact comes from clarity, credibility, and a commitment to human dignity. Please join me in welcoming to the stage tonight's keynote speaker and the recipient of IAB's 2025 Luminary Award, Nazanin Boniadi.
Thank you for that very generous introduction. I'm slightly in awe of you all. You are incredible, every speaker, every honoree tonight, all of you. Good evening, distinguished judges, lawyers, law students, friends. Yes, some of you are friends of mine. It's a profound honor to join you. When I learned that I would receive the Luminary Award from the Iranian American Bar Association, I felt two things: deep gratitude and deep responsibility. Because Luminary is not a title, it's a calling. In our cultural tradition, light is not simply brightness. Light is moral clarity. Light is truth. Light, in the Zoroastrian tradition, is ashar, the flame of justice and order that has guided Persian civilization for millennia. Your presence in this room as Iranian-American legal professionals is itself an extension of that flame. From the sacred fires tended by our ancestors to the torch Iranians carry in spirit today, light has always meant one thing in our culture: the courage to tell the truth and to stand for justice, no matter the cost. And so I accept this award not as recognition of anything I may have done, but as a reminder of what we must all continue to do. More than 2,500 years ago, Cyrus the Great, founder of the Persian Empire, articulated principles that in modern language we call human rights. On the Cyrus cylinder, he declared freedom of worship, respect for the dignity of conquered peoples, and the repatriation of the displaced. He proclaimed, all people shall be free to worship their gods and dwell in peace. This was not the language of domination. It was the language of legitimacy. Cyrus wrote not to glorify conquest, but to articulate a philosophy of rule rooted in justice and pluralism. That vision shaped our civilization. It echoed through Sadi's timeless verse, Bani Adam, which was already indicated this evening. The children of Adam are limbs of one another. Words now carved at the entrance of the United Nations, just as a replica of the Cyrus cylinder sits at the heart of it, a testament to Iran's moral contribution to world civilization. Our poets carried the flame forward. Ferdowsi preserved the Persian language and moral imagination through the Shahnameh, an epic with the weight of the Iliad and the Odyssey combined, at least for us Persians and Iranians. But written not in the ink of conquest. It was written to preserve a people's ethic. The belief that justice is the throne upon which all righteous power must sit. The certainty that wisdom must guide strength. The conviction that tyranny cannot endure. In times of oppression, Hafez whispered that every night, no matter how long, is already carrying the seed of its own dawn. From Cyrus to Sadi, from Ferdowsi to Hafez, the message is the same. Law without justice is tyranny. Freedom without conscience is chaos. This is the civilizational inheritance that Iranians carry wherever we are in the world, including right here in this room. While Cyrus stands at the beginning of our story, Persia's moral imagination stretches far beyond its earliest emperors. We are also the descendants of Bahram King Bahram V of the Sasanian dynasty, whom Ferdowsi praised with these lines: Zemabad bar jan an kas durud, ke dad o kherad bashadash tarud. May my greetings be upon the soul whose being is woven of justice and wisdom. Bahram is remembered in our literary memory not for conquest, but for character. He embodied a model of leadership where strength was defined through service, through wise judgment, humility, and a flourishing society. And though his era was not free from the conflicts of his time, Iranian tradition remembers him as a ruler who prized harmony and peace. This ideal, leadership woven from justice and wisdom, still pulses at the heart of our culture. These ancient flames, the sacred fire, the Shahnameh's moral universe, Cyrus's cylinder, converged in a new world when Lady Liberty raised her torch in the New York harbor. Two civilizations, separated by oceans, yet united by a shared faith, that law must protect the vulnerable, and that freedom must have a guardian. You, as Iranian-American legal professionals, carry both torches, the Persian flame of justice and the American flame of liberty. Together, they illuminate a path that neither culture can walk alone. But if our story begins with light, the last 46 years have been one long eclipse. Since the 1979 revolution, Iran has been one of the world's most dangerous countries, particularly for one specific group of people, lawyers. Those whose profession it is to keep justice alive. The Abdurrahman Burman Center for Human Rights in Iran has documented this repression meticulously, and the pattern is unmistakable. In 1979, the Islamic Republic's first Sharia judge, Ayatollah Khalkhali, who was also the person who sought to execute my own father for opposing the nascent regime, said with chilling candor, "There's no room in revolutionary courts for defense lawyers." This was not a procedural note. It was a declaration of war on due process, on the rule of law, on the very idea that the accused deserve a defense. In place of innocent until proven guilty, the regime believes in guilt without a chance to prove innocence. The leaders of the new regime did not merely oppose individual lawyers, they opposed the concept of law limiting power. That same year, Iran's Bar Association issued a courageous public statement pledging allegiance to the principles of freedom, the people's right to self-govern, the independent judiciary envisioned in the 1906 Constitutional Revolution, and the fundamental separation of powers. For this fidelity to Iran's legal heritage, they were punished. Women lawyers were among the first to object. In March of 1979, the Women's Rights Defense Lawyers Group condemned Ayatollah Khomeini's order striking down the family protection law, which had safeguarded women's rights in marriage, divorce, and custody. They asked, with piercing clarity, "Is there even one woman in the Imam's office or the Revolutionary Committee?" Their question echoed across the country. It was met with silence. And women's rights were rolled back half a century. 1 month later, when international organizations protested the lack of due process, Ayatollah Khomeini responded, "These are not people charged with crimes, they are criminals." A regime that presumes guilt denies the very need for lawyers. And so came the purges. In 1981, 167 legal professionals, including Abdul Karim Lahaji, were persecuted for protesting the Qisas or Retribution Bill. Lahaji was forced into exile. In 1983, 57 lawyers were banned from practice. By August of that year, 32 more. By December, 52 more. Licenses revoked, careers destroyed, lives shattered. Shirin Ebadi, your keynote speaker last year, a Nobel laureate, and the first female judge in Iran, was stripped of her judgeship post-revolution, denied a law license for years, imprisoned for defending students, targeted through her family, and ultimately forced into exile. Mehrangiz Kar, another prominent Iranian legal mind, was arrested in 2000, held in solitary confinement, and now lives in exile. Others, Abdul Fattah Soltani, Nasrin Sotoudeh, Sohaila Hijab, have endured repeated arrests, torture, and long sentences. Their crime was using their legal training to challenge injustice. This is not historical. It's ongoing and accelerating. In 2024, UN experts reported that Iran has imprisoned, tortured, and disbarred lawyers solely for defending human rights. Nearly 60 lawyers have been detained since 2021, many more arrested, hundreds have lost their licenses. Why? Because in today's Iran, the law is not a safeguard, it's a weapon. And lawyers are not guardians of justice, they are targets of the state. When a government is afraid of its lawyers, it's afraid of its people. Since the killing of Mahsa Jina Amini in 2022, the Iranian people have risen in one of the most courageous civil movements of our time. Zan, Zindagi, Azadi, woman, life, freedom. Born of the Kurdish women's struggle, carried by millions of Iranians.
These three words are not a slogan. They're a diagnosis and a prescription. For each word is an antidote.
Woman to misogyny, life to murder, freedom to repression. They declare that when women rise, nations rise. The regime has responded the only way it knows how, with violence disguised as law. In 2024, more than 970 people were executed, 64% of all known global executions.
In 2025, that number has risen to more than 1,450 so far, the highest rate in decades. Many for offences that fall short of the most serious crimes under international law, many for no crime at all. Without fair trial, with no due process. Children in Balochistan have been sentenced to death for protest participation. Women face fines, surveillance, and flogging for showing their hair. Businesses are shut down for refusing to police women's bodies.
Now, under a new espionage law, the regime has an even broader tool to criminalize dissent, allowing it to brand virtually any form of opposition as espionage, and to wield the death penalty with even greater ease. This isn't morality. This is state control dressed in the language of religion. And yet, in the face of this brutality, Iranian women remain the regime's most powerful threat. Tens of thousands continue to defy the compulsory hijab across the country, not because the regime has reformed,
but because Iranian women are indomitable. Which brings me to you, the lawyers, jurists, and law students of the Iranian American Bar Association.
In free societies, law is a lever for change, not a tool of oppression. You use the law to protect civil rights, immigrant communities, asylum seekers, and the vulnerable. You file amicus briefs that shape jurisprudence. You fight for due process in immigration courts. You advise families targeted by transnational repression. You mentor Iranian American law students who will carry this flame forward. What lawyers in Iran risk their lives to do, you are free to do here, at least for now. And as for you, as you already know, that freedom comes with responsibility.
Your work becomes a lifeline, not just for individuals, but for the principle of justice itself.
You're not only part of the Iranian people's voice, You are part of their bridge to a freer future. The through line from Cyrus's cylinder to Bahram al-Gur, from Saadi to Hafiz, from the Shahnameh to Lady Liberty's torch is unmistakable. Collective courage moves history. Democracy is not just a slogan. It's a commitment, patient, principled, disciplined. And law is one of its most powerful tools. The world must recognize what Iranian women and minorities face today, a system of gender apartheid and institutionalized repression, a system that meets every element of that crime under international law. Naming matters, because what we name, we can challenge, and what we challenge, we can change. You, lawyers, advocates, law students, can be the architects of that naming. You can preserve evidence, you can protect truth, you can support accountability mechanisms at the UN, you can help prepare the legal architecture for the day after. And that day will come. Tonight, as I accept this Luminary Award, I do so not in my own name, but in the name of those who lit the flame long before us, the women who unveiled their hair in defiance, the lawyers who refused to bow to tyranny, the prisoners whose courage humbles us, the families who continue to demand truth and justice for their loved ones. They have carried the torch this far. Now it's in our hands, lawyers, judges, students, citizens, to ensure it never goes out. Let us be the generation that turns outrage into legal architecture, solidarity into systems, and light into law. Because justice, like flame, must be tended, or it dies. As Iranians, our survival is written into our story. We have endured conquest after conquest by the Greeks, by the Arabs, by the Mongols, even by the Allies in World War II, and for the past 46 years by the Islamic Republic. And yet, we have never lost our identity, our culture, or our spirit. Our ability, our resilience, our ability to carry light through darkness is what defines us. In the words of my great-great-grandfather, 19th century Sufi master and poet Safi Ali Shah, در مزرعه دل فشاندم تخم امید ای ابر کرم ببار بر کشته ما. In the field of my heart, I have scattered the seeds of hope. O merciful cloud, let your rain fall upon what we have planted. Tonight, standing before you, I know that this hope is not mine alone. It belongs to all of us. And when a people plant hope together, no tyranny can keep that rain from falling. Our shared light will pierce the darkness once again, and justice will prevail for our beloved homeland, Iran. Thank you.